Those words were, wherever two or three are gathered, there I am. Wherever two or three are gathered, there is relationship, there is spirit, there is power, and there is typically some kind of covenant, an agreement, a promise of how we are together. Covenant is our theme this month. And we're talking about covenant because, just a little step back for some of our newer folks, this year we're constructing a theological house. Now, for the purpose of today, maybe we can imagine that house to be a yurt, right? One that could perhaps float in a rising tide. All right? Thank you all. So you know where we're going here. I like it. We're defining our theological house because we want to be clear about what unites us. Right? Unitarian Universalism is a theologically pluralistic tradition, and there are some things we agree on, right? Yeah. And those can be found within the context of our theological house that has a roof, we've talked about, it has doors and windows, it has an outside area we all share. And it does, in fact, have some walls that hold us in lovingly. Has anyone else ever heard, like, oh, Unitarian Universalists, they let you believe whatever you want? It's not quite true, right? Folks who came in with a belief that perhaps all people are not equal, that's not really a belief that would work within this theological house that we have, right? Because we do here declare and believe that all people have inherent worth and dignity, that all people are worthy and worthy of love. And we believe in an interconnectedness that unites us here with other beings, with other humans, however near or far away they are. Now, it's also important this year that we're constructing a theological house because there's a lot going on in our world. I don't know if y'all have noticed, right? And it can be easy to feel ungrounded, unanchored, and unmoored. And it is a crucial time for us to clarify what it is we do believe and who we are, so we can be firm in our rootedness, in our conviction, and in our love as we go to make more of that love in the world, as we go to declare that truly all are loved and all are welcome. When we remember, when we know who it is we are and what the confines and love of our theological house is, it is easier for us to be in the world firmly and with love. Now, why covenant? And why are we talking about covenant this month? In our metaphor of a theological house / it's becoming a yurt because we have a living tradition. So things change and grow, right? We put on additions, our house becomes a yurt. The walls are what holds us together. We might use the word confines, but not in a confining way. Right? In the way when you're in a place and you just feel embraced. Gosh, I used to love living on third floor apartments because they when it's a 3-story house, because the roof kind of just hugs you. Archways, anyone else have this experience? Some walls can feel warm in their hold. And that is what our covenant is. Now, there are a lot of y'all here, but we're still going to try this. What words come to mind for you all when you hear covenant? Promise. Contract. Agreement. Oh my gosh, that was like a beautiful little echo over there. Relationship. Trust. Responsibility, shared responsibility. This is great. Yes, these are all the words that we think of when we think of covenant. The promises that we make to one another. And we're going to talk even more about promise next week. Now, I want to think too about the stories that we hear, or the wider context that we think of when we hear the word covenant. A lot of you all probably think of the story we heard this morning from Ruth, right? The story of Noah and the ark and the promise and the covenant that we see in a rainbow. Some of you all who've been around for a while, did anyone think of the UUFWS covenant? The covenant that we all wrote together? Okay, a couple. So this congregation has a sort of behavioral covenant, I would call it, an agreement of how we are to be together. And there are three overarching things. It's one, listening and speaking respectfully, right? We want to listen fully, and we want to speak respectfully. We also say that we welcome different points of view, and we want to be curious with others who might have a different point of view than we do. And the final one is encouraging each other as we search for truth and meaning. Now, why do we have a covenant at this fellowship? It's because as Unitarian Universalists, covenants are like really our thing. We are very, very into covenant. Some of y'all might have heard me before say that we are a covenantal tradition as opposed to a creedal tradition, right? In a lot of religions, or maybe not a ton of religions, more are actually covenantal than we think, but many of us are familiar with Christianity, and in many Christian traditions, though not all, the contract that you come into when you are a part of that community is that you all agree a creed, right? You agree to a set of beliefs together. And the thing that's a little bit different about us is that we say we have no list of beliefs that you need to agree to and sign up for when you join us. What we care about is how we are together, right? We accept that we might have different beliefs and points of view, but what we care the most about is that we can be united in our actions and that we can agree to a certain way of being together. A way of listening to one another, of loving one another, and of ensuring that those values we do agree upon are able to be made more real in our world. Does that sound right? Does that sound like who we are? Right. So our covenant is really our thing. And right now, our covenant is so important because, I don't know about the rest of you, but we've been maybe a little stressed the last couple months. Anyone else? No? Yeah, just a little bit. We've been a little more stressed, a little more anxious. And that affects our relationships, right? Because it affects ourselves. And so it affects our relationships. And it is so common right now that relationships that were maybe moving along with a healthy but back burner, could be some issues there, amount of tension, are perhaps starting to boil over, right? Because everyone's just a bit stressed, right? And so it's so normal that tension is going to show up in our relationships, which is why now is such a good time to be reminding ourselves of our covenant, of the promise that we have to try and be our best selves whenever we can with one another, to try and listen fully to one another, and to covenant to be together and try and make this place and these relationships more like the world we long for, right? And then, gosh, that important line we sang in our song this morning, though you've broken your vow 1,000 times, come yet again, come. We know, and we know this especially when we're stressed, that we're gonna mess up, right? We're gonna break our promises sometimes, and when that happens, we, as best as we can, when we can, invite people back into relationship, invite people back into covenant. We apologize, we start over, and we try to mend relationships. Whew, it's the hardest part of life, right? The messiness of ourselves and the messiness of ourselves with other messy people in relationship. It gets hard, and it's also where the really good and beautiful growth is. When we are invited by others into love to sharpen who we are, and I use sharpen not in a pointy way, right? But into acknowledging that we are all tools of love and justice and beauty in our world. And by being in relationship with one another, we become wiser to our gifts and to our weaknesses too, becoming aware of them so we can be the most loving and most just person we can be here in this community and outside of these walls. It's all about relationship for us Unitarian Universalists. And another beautiful thing is that we're not just in relationship with one another, right? With those here in this room. We're in relationship with other Unitarian Universalist congregations, with our wider community, and with Unitarian Universalists all across the nation and the world. You'll hear more about our partner, who's UU Justice of North Carolina, that helps bring all Unitarian Universalist congregations together in North Carolina to do good. We did a whole lot of good with them about getting support to folks in Western North Carolina after the flood. We're gonna actually be hearing more about working with a climate justice revival with our Greensboro congregation early in April. There is so much that we do together that helps us be better and that helps us grow. Some of you all who've been around for a while know that we used to have 7 principles, and now Unitarian Universalists have 7 values: love at the center, justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence and generosity, right? There's an acronym, JETPIG, to remember it, which was definitely what I was using in my mind. And the fact that we changed from 7 principles to 7 values, new folks, this is just jargon that you don't need to fully absorb right now, but what's important about it is that it shares that we truly are a living tradition, right? That our house can become an ark, that our ark can get an addition if we need one, and we will. Right? We will, both literally in this physical space. Look around, y'all, come on. There's a lot of people in this little room, and it's beautiful. So physically, we might need some more space. But metaphorically, as Unitarian Universalists, we will need more space. And the beautiful promise is that we have one another, and we have an ark. This is especially good news because right now there are those among us who feel that the world perhaps is about to flood. Maybe vengeance of a spiteful God, or maybe more man-made disasters. But either way, some of us feel like this. And if it's not you, I know that you still love and care about people who are feeling like their whole world is about to flood and want them to hear this message. So here's some good news for all of us. The word ship is already in the title of who we are, right? Thank you. That was supposed to be a little comedic relief. We are a fellowship, right? In this community, this theological house can be a yurt, can be an ark. And it will not be closed. It will be open for continual renovation and expansion. And we will keep inviting others in, building a bigger and bigger ark. For here's the truth, there are those who need us right now, who need to be in this space. And there are also those who are cheering right now, who think that what is coming will be good for them, and it will not be. And we will be there even then. We will invite folks who are cheering into our ark of love. We will collect them, for they will be in need of love and support and community too. And we will quietly proclaim through this act the worth of every being, humbly sharing our universalist message that all of us, each and every one of us is worthy of being saved. Covenant is a commitment to be together, to grow together, to connect to our most ultimate truths and faiths together, though we know that they are different. It's a commitment to be in mystery, sorrow, and joy together, and to hold on to the promise of a better world that is coming. To know that rain always ends, the rainbow always appears, and that for now, we have a beautiful ark to be on together. Amen.